Folks, we got a Psaki bomb for you.
Oh, yeah. Queen, yes, slay.
You know, from the very beginning of this pandemic, there was only 2 or 3 things that you could do to mitigate the pandemic. I mean, I don't know. There's probably a place or two around the globe that has been untouched, but for the most part, everywhere has been touched by this. Certainly, a country like the United States was not going to escape. But we could have done a lot better. We could have saved probably hundreds of thousands of lives. Not to mention the disposition of the last administration towards COVID and it becoming essentially some type of like cultural signifier for 40% of the country to pretend like it didn't exist. Obviously, social distancing and masking when appropriate, and then obviously the development of the vaccine, which we have. But the other major thing would have been to test and trace. Now, at this point, like tracing, it's still done. My son had to stay out of school because he was in close contact with somebody. Fortunately, did not get it, but it's the safest thing to do because you don't know. But testing is huge. And we have a crappy regime in this country for testing. Here is Jen Psaki attempting to, pretend like that's not the case.
Look at what we've done over the course of time. We've quadrupled the size of our testing plan. We've cut the cost significantly over the past few months. And this effort to ensure insurers you're able to get your tests refunded means 150 million Americans will be able to get free tests.
It's kind of complicated, though. Why not just make them free and give them out and have them available everywhere?
Should we just send one to every American?
Maybe.
Then what happens if every American has one test? How much does that cost, and then what happens after that?
All I know is that other countries seem to be making them available in greater quantities for less money.
Well, I think we share the same objective, which is to make them less expensive and more accessible, right? Every country's going to do that differently, and I was just noting that, again, our tests go through the FDA approval process. That's not the
that was an NPR reporter, by the way. This wasn't like the Majority Report correspondent asking her this question. It's that common sense because it's that prevalent. In the UK, you can get a bunch of free tests.
You can order 7 tests a day.
Yeah, you can walk into any store and grab free tests. I don't think that we should be sending tests out to every American one-off. But I do think you should be able to get a test on demand, essentially. Either in the mail or actually just sort of like, I don't know, go online and I don't know, maybe if there was only some type of federal worker who was literally visiting your home every day, like somebody like who had the ability to deliver something every day so that maybe you could go online and just go like, need a test. Right. Bingo. But
how much would that cost, Sam?
I mean, can you imagine? I mean, look, it would cost something. But in terms of all the other expense associated with COVID, it just seems like the most obvious thing to do. And yes, we do have FDA approval, but am I the only person who saw that story that Trump had an FDA a crony in there and they only approved 2 tests, which from a company that he worked for?
Yeah.
He was certain those were the safest. Got to know it.
Is it really the case the U.S. government couldn't develop the test and then basically just say with the defense authorization, say like, you're going to produce these tests?
No, because when the reporter followed up, she pivoted and tried to make it about like, well, initially, even in the response there, she was talking about how much the United States has made gains, but relative to other countries, that's not the case because we have a convoluted for-profit system where instead of just making these tests free and investing the money necessary into doing so, which the Biden administration could do easily, you have to buy a test, fill out a form for your $14 test, and then get a rebate maybe like in a few weeks.
And we know like rebates exist because most people don't avail.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Right. It creates a barrier to entry. People will forget about it. They won't participate. And then, okay, you're able to make a profit on it. That's what she's trying to protect there. So
creating a barrier to entry to testing, not the best of strategies. Not the best of strategies.
You want people to be able to have as many tests as possible waste tests. So when she talks about like, oh, what are we just going to send every American a test? I don't know. It's not insane. You want as many wasted tests as possible because that means that people are taking it seriously and testing themselves and not infecting other people.
In fact, it's probably a good thing to do as a one-off to introduce the idea that there are tests that you can take. They're super easy. In fact, we sent you one. It's free. And if you need more, here's what you do. You go to USPS.gov, send me a test, and boom. I mean, at one point, the U.S. government was going to send everybody through their mail person
a mask. Well, they should have done that too, but that was under the Trump administration. Now the Biden administration, they're supposed to be like Psaki bombs everywhere, right? Like the queen slaying and upholding the boundaries of our for-profit healthcare system. We love you.
I mean, just to be clear, I mean, she's just a spokesperson for the administration.
No, but
the failure of the administration to deal with this is just ridiculous.
Yeah, but she shows the contempt is indicative of their approach to this.
Yep.
She was annoyed by that question, and like the lack of imagination is
fatal.
Yeah, it's fatal and also profitable for certain segments. And then like, that's why she gets her back up.
It's sort of amazing too, that you would imagine at this point, the Biden administration would be very, very worried about assuming this thing's wrapping up. Right. I mean, that seems to me to be understandable that certainly I certainly felt that way last June. I was like, by September, I don't even know. I said this all. I was like, I'm not even sure, maybe late into September. I have a feeling you take your mask off by October. And then Delta rolls around. So it's just, I don't know. It seems like there's this hope that it's going to go away and it would be silly to do the test thing right now. But maybe it's a good idea to sort of set up a system.
They do it in other states in this country. I believe like there are some states in the United States, maybe in New England, where they have free tests. So it's not crazy.